Hello, everyone. Anything to anybody?
Hello. Hello, everybody. Okay, I am finally going to post a couple of the conversations that I had with Gonzalo Lira online. I have posted videos on Gonzalo before. If you don't know, he has been illegally arrested in the Ukraine, and the United States government is doing nothing to help him. And as U.S. citizens, it's our responsibility to stand up and say this is unacceptable. And I did a whole video on this, so I'm not going to go into it again. But in that video, I said I would eventually go through and post the conversations that I had with Gonzalo. So I'm going to post the first one or two here. And then as I have time, I'll go through and do more. Peace.
If you want the last word for me, right? A short
Wait, hang on. I hate to do this to you, but there's a long-time viewer that I really want to bring on, and because he's been very kind and he's a great interlocutor. David, how's it going? Thanks so much for joining us. Real briefly, because we're at the end of the show.
Yeah, gentlemen, hello. Great show.
Hello.
I just want to interject. It's like you're saying, I'm not sure we're living in unique times. It comes to the point where whether it's trading markets, sports, fighting warfare, it comes to the point where people are going to disagree. And when diplomacy fails, then what other choice do you have but to use whatever means is necessary? There's a saying that I love. You can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And eventually, we're going to find out over time who's right and who's wrong. And
yeah,
said. Right, like Ukraine. If Ukraine is not going to acknowledge what the reality is or what we think the reality is, then they're going to lose everything.
Yep, I'm afraid you're right. Thanks, David. I really appreciate it. Take care. Okay, so yeah, thanks, David. I really appreciate that comment. That's absolutely right. I think that too many people are ignoring reality. And bye. Hey, David, how's it going?
Hey, Gonzalo, how are you?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Good. Yeah, it takes a while for this. I'm on an old computer as well, so it takes a while for it to unmute and show itself after you press a button. Yeah, there's a lot of things I've been thinking about as I listen to you. Till we have some of the same thoughts anyways. I don't know, it's if you look back over the last 50 years, one of the things I've always find interesting is the stories about Highlander and people who live forever, because that would be a novel concept, because then you would be able to experience these cycles and ebbs flows real time rather than relying on what history teaches about it. And going forward, maybe that's the history they're going to hide because they don't want people to learn from the past. Yeah. And if you look at the last 30 years anyways, it really has been a golden age in terms of how easy life has been compared to the previous 100 years. And how easy just everything we take for granted. And how easy it is to travel. I mean, for you to travel from, Chile to all these different countries around the world. Yeah. And you can see it's kind of now starting. You might have already been at the apex, and we're now kind of going on the other side of the cliff.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, especially in the West. Yes.
Yeah, especially in the West. And it's something I talk about a lot is, China, as much as people in the West want to criticize them and maybe have made some of the same mistakes as Western countries, But when you go there, they have actually built up their infrastructure. They have something to show for the debt that they have incurred that actually benefits their citizens and their culture.
And what does the West have to show for all its indebtedness? Rich bankers.
That's about the size of it. That's about the size of it. And you still see in the stock markets today where they stubbornly refuse to accept the transition that's going on. They actually think, I heard you say the other day.
I'm still here.
And
I'm still here, by
okay.
the way. I'm just going to freshen my coffee, but I'm still listening to you. So please, David, go on.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of Klaus Schwab saying you'll own nothing and be happy. But if you look at U.S. society and how the bigs are hollowing everything out, we truly are going to a society where we own nothing. I mean, Uber, right? Uber is one of the largest transportation companies. Well, they don't own anything. They rely on you to bring what you own. You have Amazon. They don't own really anything. I think a lot of people have stores, and you have what's the I'm thinking of? It's
Facebook.
Yeah, Netflix, right? Netflix. They don't have movie theaters.
No, you're completely
So-
right. It's just a service-oriented economy. Yeah. And so, and also the technological infrastructure is very extensive, but it's exceedingly fragile. And so, they've got nothing to show for it, because they thought that it was a post-industrial world, and they were wrong. They were seriously wrong. It isn't a post-industrial world, and this conflict is showing that. The Russians, they have their industry and they have their weapons manufacturer. I mean, quite apart from the military aspect of an industrial society, what they have is actual industries that makes aluminum, that makes steel, that makes all kinds of crap. And the West, what does it have to show for its vaunted post-industrial economy? Just a bunch of services. So, they fucking
Well, if it goes to a person, it goes to an organization and a government as well. If you cannot identify, if you don't have an identity, how are you going to move forward? I mean, the United States used to, if you ask people 50 years ago what the United States meant, what it stood for, it was the light on the hill. It was the beacon. Whether it was true or not, it doesn't matter. That's what the identity was. Today, if you ask people what does the United States mean, what does it stand for, I think people are going to have a tough time coming up with anything for future generations to follow.
Yep. That's exactly right.
If you're 20-something today and you live in the United States, what is your future? It has to be horrifying for these people.
Yeah, you have no future. It's simple as that, and horrifying as that. You have no future.
And, well, you think of, like I always think of, since I have Irish heritage, I think of Ireland. How long was that in turmoil? How long was that?
Oh, long damn.
Long damn time. And what did it finally take for them to decide that, hey, maybe peace is worthwhile? It took enough economic opportunity for people to be able to put food on their plate.
Yeah.
The basics of life. And that's what the world was, is think about it. I mean, these countries that were holes in the ground for decades, centuries, they now became tourist destinations.
Yeah.
And nobody thinks in the United States, nobody thinks the stock market's ever go back to pre-pandemic levels. Nobody thinks that these good times are ever going to fall apart. And I think that it's foolish not to think that that is what we're watching right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're watching right now. And, look, the American collapse, it'll happen. It's baked in bake. You got the financial issue and all these gas wars that are just going to blow back in their faces, right? And so once the United States has crashed, right, I think it'll be a good long while before they get the ship right. And they're going to try a whole bunch of different measures, and each measure is going to be worse than the last. You got to keep in mind, during the Great Depression in the 1930s, right, the United States, the FDR government implemented a lot of measures that created the 1937 recession, which continued the Depression. See? And so a lot of the measures that will be implemented to get the United States out of the hole it's in after the crash, they will be counterproductive. And it's going to be a very, very bumpy and a very long ride. I'm talking decades, plural.
Oh yeah.
You know? And so
and Ross Perot warned everybody in the 1990 presidential debate. All you hear is this jazz second sound.
Yeah.
Those are the jobs leaving.
Yeah.
And he goes,
he was right. He was right.
Yeah. And he's I asked my experts, how long will it take for America to come back? And they said, well, when the hourly rate falls to $6 an hour.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be very painful, and a lot of the smart people are going to leave,
Oh yeah, Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged.
I mean, like the smart people are always going to leave, because they're going to realize, what's the point of putting all this effort into something if I'm not going to get any results out of it, And so that's what happened with Europe with regards to the United States. The smart people left for the Americas, right?
Bingo. Yeah.
And, you think it can't happen in the States? That all of a sudden the really smart guys, the guys with drive and ambition and some brains, because it's not an issue of brains. A lot of people think that the smart people are the important ones. No, it's the ones with ambition. Those are the ones who matter. And those guys with
because where there's opportunity, that's all you need. You just need to be out there. You need to be out there just pumping, and you will find opportunity if there are opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in my own experience, I've noticed that the most successful guys are not the smartest guys. They're the ones with the most ambition, I mean, they got a little bit of brains, but not that much. They got ambition. They got drive, and they succeed. And when you lose that class of people, then your nation is screwed. I mean, for a young guy who's ambitious, see, the American economy is collapsing, and there's no space for any kind of new businesses or something that you can put your shoulder to and push forward, right? The women are horrible. They're just all a bunch of whores, quite frankly, and psychotic and all medicated.
Well, they're trying to be men. That's the problem.
Whatever the problem is or the cause is, right? They're screwed up. You don't want to pair up with some screwed up girl, right? But you go to some country like Uruguay, like Thailand, like Belarus or Georgia, where the girls are pretty and normal, and you got lots of opportunity. Of course, you're going to go there. You'd be insane not to. So that's my thinking. Yeah. Anything else
absolutely.
on your mind, David?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It leads into the point where if the real question is, are we going to see a huge deflationary event? Because you mentioned it before, but right now the Fed officially they're reporting that they're cutting M2 money supply at the largest amount since the Great Depression back in the 1930s. So you have to ask yourself, okay, are we going to have a huge deflationary event like
nobody knows? And I'll tell you why.
Nobody knows. But
you got to understand why nobody knows, because the people who have their hands on the levers of power do one thing unpredictable because they have been irrational. Hello, are you still there? I dropped out for a second. They become unpredictable. They are irrational. So they could go here or they could go there, but you're not going to be able to predict them. See, look, if to give a stupid example, right? Suppose you have your hand on the table, right? And I come at you with a hammer and try to clobber your hand. What are you going to do? You're going to pull it away. You're going to act rationally, right?
there's cause and effect. You see the cause that's coming, a hammer that's going to land on your hand. And so the effect is you're going to pull away your hand. That's rational behavior, right? And I'm just giving a silly example, but these people don't act rationally. Therefore, they are not predictable. See? They could do anything. They could tighten the rates until the economy squeezes. They could print money until there's no tomorrow. You don't know what they're going to do. And so you got to ask yourself, do you really want to be beholden to people who are completely irrational?
No, but people like us can still get crushed from whatever they decide to do. For example, let's say somebody listened to Ray Dalio who said cash is trash, right? And then they bought a house. Or people thought the opposite and said, I want liquidity, I want cash. And then you see what's happened in Argentina where their currency is becoming a hockey stick.
Yeah.
So
look, you can't predict it. So, the winning move is not to play. That's what I think insofar as the American economy and the financial markets are concerned, because you can't predict this shit. You don't know where they're going to go. And so, I prefer, like I've said many times, I prefer to live a life that doesn't wake me in the night. I'm never worried that I'm going to wake up, worried about something, thinking, was this a smart move? Was that a smart move? I sleep just like a log all night. And that's the way I prefer to live. And by reducing my worry about what other people will do, other people whom I cannot control or influence, but who can control me and influence me very negatively, then I prefer to just detach myself. And that's been my decision. Yeah.
Well, I just want to finish with one point. We're old enough where we see the end of the road, potentially. I mean, we don't know when that's coming. But I think the one thing that I think would be beneficial, and I've tried to do it with my family and friends, is the problem with a lot of young people today is they try to rely on what they're told is the American way or the existing way. Go to college, do this. And I think that there's a lot of people floundering because they don't know what to do right now. And fear is the worst demotivator. And also not having a clear idea of what they should do. And so I've told all my nieces and nephews, learn languages and go to another culture and you'll find opportunity there. It's not the United States anymore. But only one has taken my advice. But I think that's something. Yeah, well, he's doing it part-time. But I think that's something where I know you had a lot of success as Coach Red Pill. I think that would be something that could help a lot of people right now, Gonzalo. There's a lot of young people, like you've seen a couple of them on your Patreon, and they seem like real nice kids. And they just have to say, you know what? My grandparents left, my great-grandparents left. I need the courage to leave and go explore and find opportunity.
Exactly. Yes. I'll probably bring back Coach Red Pill content. So anyway, David, thanks very much. Take it easy, man.